The receipt sits on the kitchen table longer than it should. You glance at it while sipping your coffee, not because you forgot to throw it away, but because something about it feels heavier than paper. It's from a purchase you told yourself was an investment. And yet, weeks or months later, nothing in your life feels different. Same income, same quiet anxiety, same question that never quite leaves. Why does it still feel like I'm not moving forward? For many people in their 30s, 40s, even 50s, this isn't about reckless spending. You've tried to be responsible. You've followed advice that sounded reasonable. And still, progress feels slow. Not because you're doing nothing, but because many of the things labeled as investments aren't actually building wealth. The uncomfortable truth is this: not everything that looks like an investment behaves like one. And for the middle class especially, that confusion becomes a trap. Let's walk through them, one by one. The first trap is buying a house and assuming it's automatically an investment. It's often seen as the ultimate financial milestone, proof that you're doing life right. But when the mortgage stretches your income, when maintenance quietly drains your cash flow, and when your flexibility disappears, that investment starts behaving more like a long-term liability. Instead of building wealth, it locks you into a financial structure that's hard to grow from.
The second trap is treating your car like an investment in productivity or success. It feels justified. You need it for work, for family, for daily life. But financially, most cars are depreciating assets. They lose value over time while continuing to cost you money every single month. What feels necessary often becomes a silent wealth drain. The third trap hides in self-improvement spending that doesn't translate into income. Courses, certifications, and workshops promise transformation, and some do deliver, but many don't create real financial returns. Learning feels productive, but without application or monetization, it becomes consumption disguised as growth. The fourth trap mixes insurance with investment. These products are often marketed as the best of both worlds, protection and growth in one package. But in reality, they usually come with higher fees and lower returns. What sounds like a smart, sophisticated move often underperforms compared to simpler, more transparent options.
The fifth trap is upgrading your lifestyle too quickly. A bigger home, better restaurants, higher-end purchases, they all feel like rewards for your hard work. But when your expenses grow at the same pace as your income, there's nothing left to build wealth. You feel like you're progressing, but financially, you're standing still. The sixth trap is oversaving in low-growth environments. Keeping large amounts of money in cash or low-interest accounts feels safe. It gives you peace of mind. But over time, inflation slowly erodes its value. What feels like protection quietly becomes a long-term loss. The seventh trap is giving financial support without boundaries. Helping family, lending money, covering responsibilities, it often comes from a place of care. But when it consistently delays your own financial progress, it becomes a hidden cost. One that doesn't show up on paper, but shapes your entire future. The eighth trap is starting a side business without a clear path to profitability. It feels like you're taking control, building something of your own, but many side ventures operate at a loss for years. Without structure or realistic expectations, they become expensive hobbies rather than actual investments. The ninth trap is chasing safe investments that don't grow. Stability sounds responsible, especially when markets feel uncertain. But safety without growth rarely leads to meaningful wealth. Over time, avoiding risk completely can be just as limiting as taking the wrong risks. And the 10th trap is the most subtle of all: believing something is an investment simply because it sounds like one. The label itself creates a false sense of progress. You feel like you're moving forward, even when nothing is actually changing.
What ties all of these together isn't a lack of discipline, it's a misunderstanding of what investing really means. Because real investing isn't about how something is marketed, it's about what it actually does. Does it generate income? Does it grow in value? Does it compound over time? Or does it just feel productive while keeping you in the same place? This is where the shift begins. You stop asking, is this an investment? And start asking, is this moving me forward? And that question changes everything. It makes you more intentional, more aware of trade-offs, more focused on outcomes instead of labels. You begin to see that wealth isn't built through impressive decisions, but through effective ones.
The kind that quietly increase your income. The kind that keep your expenses under control. The kind that allow your assets to grow without constant effort. And over time, something subtle starts to happen. You feel less pressure, less confusion, less need to chase the next smart move. Because for the first time, your money isn't just moving, it's actually going somewhere.